Hi, everyone. Welcome to Little Free Library Unbound. It's chapter 11, our final chapter of the year. It's really nice to be here with all of you. My name is Lexi Neely, and I'm the program coordinator at Little Free Library. My colleague Shelby King is in the chat, sharing some links and some tips for how to have the best viewing experience. She's keeping an eye on the technical back end of Unbound, so if you run into any technical snags or have any questions, you can feel free to message Shelby with any questions, and she'll do her best to get back to you. We are so excited to be here with you today, and I am pleased to introduce our Little Free Library Board Chair, Anita Marina, who is our lovely moderator for Little Free Library Unbound. Welcome, Anita.
Well, welcome. I'm so glad to be here again for another wonderful Little Free Library Unbound. I want to say hello to everybody who's tuning in, and I'm very excited about our panelists. This is the last one of this year. Thank you all. And it's a special thank you to everybody who throughout the year have joined us for Little Free Library Unbound. It was a real labor of love. So I also want to send thanks to Shelby and Lexi for really spearheading this. As you know, it's the holiday season of various holidays, which means, of course, the spirit of giving is very, very strong. And this month, we're delighted to introduce you to 4 amazing community organizations who are using Little Free Libraries as a way to expand their offerings. And these organizations are so exciting and because they offer a wide range of services to their communities, and they have made book access a top priority. And for all of you who know that, you know, how important reading and book access is, we really want to thank every single one of them and all of you who really continue to do that, both in your neighborhoods, but also in the organizations. So I'm going to go with the original order of our panelists, and I'm very excited to introduce our very first one. We will do Amanda Randall to Unbound. I think we still have that in the correct order. Is that right? Oops, no, brilliant. Oh, I'm sorry. That was my mistake. That's okay.
We're going to start with Cindy and then go to Grant.
Okay, we'll do Cindy.
Amanda.
All right. So Cindy Eggleton. See, I had an easy name that I kind of rejected. So Cindy Eggleton is a co-founder and the CEO of Brilliant Detroit. She and the Brilliant Detroit team provide housing for families in Detroit to ensure that families with young children have what they need to be school ready, healthy, and stable. And Brilliant Detroit, we're pleased to say, was one of our 2021 Read in Color partner organizations, placing diverse books and amplifying diverse voices. Together, we're placing 14 Little Free Libraries in the Brilliant Detroit locations. So Cindy, thank you so much for being here with us.
It is really an honor to be on this and actually to talk about the effort that you have led, because I think it is exactly what the communities need.
Great. Well, why don't we ask you to let us know, what is the team at Brilliant Detroit working on for this holiday season, this season of just so many different holidays, but also in terms of fellowship and friendship to serve your community?
Yeah, I think you just hit it in terms of the fellowship and friendship, and so many different holidays that occur between now and January. So our work is actually centered out of hubs in the middle of the neighborhood that are repurposed houses that really serve as a community hub. And while we have lots of programming and services, the most important thing that we think that happens is really fellowship between people. And that is really something that we relate really well with Little Free Libraries, is how do we, as individuals in any neighborhood, actually help build success for others, and to do it within the neighborhood in a self-determined type of way. So during the holiday season in particular, but also throughout the whole year, we're looking at ways to connect, build fellowship, and also to love on people. really and truly. So we do have 12 locations at this time, and all of them are getting decorated, but we are doing storytelling at all of them outside, along with hot cocoa, the Little Free Library's books, and Little Free Library is going to be important. Also within that, in terms of story, is actually building and making sure that there is proper representation from all types of voices in the middle of the neighborhoods. And so those are things that we are doing in honoring people's culture, their faith, and also what holidays they celebrate. So it's very multicultural right now, in a beautiful time to come together. And what I find at this point in particular with COVID still rearing its head is we need each other more than ever.
Yeah, the sharing of stories and really trying to lean on each other is so critical. The locations that you're talking about, can you elaborate a little bit more about the locations where these reading color Little Free Libraries are? Or do they vary from location to location?
Yeah, so first off, we are in the middle of neighborhoods in the city of Detroit.
Okay.
Our work is done by being invited into a neighborhood as opposed to going into a neighborhood. And in much the same way that Little Free Library is really about building community, that is what we are. It is about the self-determination of the community and the individual. So we are in the heart of neighborhoods. Our participants walk to the locations as opposed to have to drive, and everything is located out of one location. With the Little Free Libraries reading color effort, we have been doing community storytelling that is particular to each neighborhood. We did that during the summer as we launched each one of them, and we have continued to do that because I think that there is the idea of how do we lift up all voices, represent properly, but also how do we take the heritage in particular neighborhoods and bring that alive. And as somebody who's Native American, I think it is through our storytelling and our sharing that we build connectivity. So that's what's happening in the middle of neighborhoods throughout Detroit. And our hope is to build even more of that. I would say that these books that fill these libraries have also been such a boon for us because it can be expensive. It can be difficult, and what we consider success is that they're empty. And I can tell you on a daily basis, these Little Free Libraries are empty. So we're looking to build and amplify what is happening for people.
I think you made also another really great point about being invited in, that community connection itself, so that you have the buy-in of the people within that community. I think that is also a great point whenever we are working with organizations. I think that is critical. About the families, are there special stories that, where they've experienced the Little Free Libraries and the books? I love that you find that they're empty. I think that means they're bringing them home and they're reading and sharing. Are there some good stories that you have about that?
Yeah, we have some great stories. So we have one that we're still in the process of working on, which is in one of our neighborhoods. It is actually where there is an area which is called Black Bottom, which was a group of businesses. It was sort of a Black mini section of community where businesses were thriving. And it was disrupted years ago because they put an expressway right through it. We have the original individuals, some of the originals from that area, and they are actually creating a series of videos to be able to tell the stories and help encourage more of that. We've also have young authors. We have an 8-year-old who wrote a book with his dad that we have lifted up, another neighborhood where they wrote a book, and we're lifting up those particular stories along with what does it mean to represent overall? And that is something that we find in our neighborhoods is it's a very tricky world, and people need to have a sense of belonging. They need to see themselves in the stories, and they need to know that they are represented. And we are straight up lifting that up in every one of our neighborhoods.
I think you touched on something that is common to communities of color, and that is what happens when people are displaced when major highways are coming through, or developments take place in predominantly, communities of color, which means, of course, they lose a lot of history, of connections, of culture. I think that is really, really wonderful that you're bringing that back. You've mentioned a little bit more about that community. So there's a history there that you talked about, and that there are stories there yet untold. I think you touched about that as well. How are you doing a couple of things? Are you helping to place some of those stories in the Little Free Libraries? And then I'm combining two of our questions too, is how do you spread the word about the Little Free Libraries within the communities that you serve? So those are, two kind of connected questions about what additionally you bring from your community into those Little Free Libraries. And then how do you get that exposure and information out there?
Yeah, so we have a pretty active social media, and we serve over 8,000 people throughout the city. So that's one way to be able to get that information out there. But I would say is, what do I want people to know about the community we serve? One of the headlines is it's Detroit. We have one of the lower literacy rates, if not the lowest, in the country. Roughly 16% of kids read at grade level by third grade. Our neighborhoods are 95% made up of people of color, heavy in African American and also Latino. And so we are the community is the bottom line. And I think what I also want to say is, where those are the headlines, this is an honor to be in purpose in this work. Detroit is my hometown. I grew up in the Detroit area. And what I would say is, I have never met a person that doesn't want what's best for their family, their kids, and also their community. And I think the ability to have Little Free Libraries where it is something that you can easily participate in is a beginning point, right? And then it is up to us as community organizations to lift that up, but also to create the connections that are ongoing, not just grab a book, that's a starting point, but tell a story, bring the stories of the neighborhoods and communities. And frankly, the best way to spread the word of Little Free Libraries is from other neighborhood neighbors telling each other. And I think the idea that we keep having empty boxes is that people are telling, and they are going to get books, and they are participating in these read alouds. Recently, we had an event outside in one of our neighborhoods, and we had 6 different storytellers from the neighborhood on all different aspects of being multicultural. And it was packed. And it was beautiful because we are coming together as people and both telling stories, but also saying, look, you matter, this matters, and let's keep building on it.
I think you also touched on the fact that there are rich stories that actually come from the neighborhood, that you have the storytellers there in your midst, and that a book is a starting point, but you have so much more. And I think that's been really, really wonderful. I so appreciate it. I know we could go on forever, so we'll probably come back to you with more questions from those of us who continue to listen and want to learn from what you are doing. And we wish you continued success. So thank you very, very much, Cindy. This is really great, and I'm sure we will revisit you again. You have said it's an honor for you to be part of us. We are honored to have you. So thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right. So we have our next presenter. I'm so pleased to introduce you to Grant Gliniecki. Grant is the founder of the Giitigan and Anishinaabe Community Garden in Lansing, Michigan. Giitigan is a nonprofit dedicated to building community, youth STEM, science, technology, with the engineering, math, and engagement, and And what is also really wonderful, Anishinaabe cultural ecological literacy, which is really, really wonderful that you're doing that. In July, Giitigan added a Little Free Library with Anishinaabe language workbooks and storybooks, which means, again, drawing from culture and community, which is really, really exciting. So Grant, welcome to Unbound.
Chimiigwech for having me. Thank you so much. It's really exciting to be here, especially with all of the work that we've been able to do since adding a Little Free Library. I'm excited to share a little bit.
Oh, wonderful. Well, let's ask you then, how have the first few months been with your Little Free Library?
It's been really exciting. We've actually learned quite a bit about our community that I don't think we would have necessarily figured out as quickly or even at all without having a Little Free Library put in. It's been a lot busier than we were expecting. As Cindy mentioned, we've been really excited to see how many times it ends up being empty, just straight up empty, especially with the Anishinaabe books that we could put in. Anishinaabe is the Anishinaabe language. In case anyone isn't familiar, Anishinaabe are the Native American people of the Great Lakes. There are other Native folks of the Great Lakes comprised of the Potawatomi, Ojibwe, and Odawa. There's dozens of different tribal nations, but we focus specifically on our community in Lansing. But yeah, there's been a lot greater use and need for it than we were expecting, especially for kids' books.
Yeah.
Although I guess that shouldn't be surprising, and that leads into your next question.
Of course, what inspired you to put a Little Free Library in a community garden of all places?
The actual inspiration was our neighbors across the street, the Hunter Park Garden House, which is an initiative to bring local affordable food to the community. They put up a seed library, specifically offering native seed replantings to help restore prairie in the area. And as they were building it, it just looked like a Little Free Library in progress, and the community started using it as a Little Free Library in a pantry. So, and they would empty it out again, and then it would fill up again and move it to a more appropriate setting, and then it would fill up again. So there was clearly a need for that. So we ended up deciding to put it there to meet that need, but also at the same time, we've been looking to expand our actual Anishinaabe language outreach. One of the greatest ways to protect and encourage Indigenous youth outcomes in academia, in health, in mental well-being, and all kinds of different aspects, and the same goes for Indigenous adults, is to ensure that they have access to language and culture. And the same is true for their peers. I guess it's not surprisingly, when you have peers of Indigenous youth that are familiar with their language, with their culture, Indigenous kids do a lot better. So we were able to meet both of those needs simultaneously by putting up something that the community already wanted, both our Indigenous and non-Indigenous neighbors alike, and start expanding our mission into Anishinaabe.
I think that you're also honoring the language and the culture, which, given, history and experiences, that has not always been the case. So I really, really applaud you. And then, food is life and culture. And so that is really terrific. And that actually ties into, what you're saying about seeds and other items. You shared with us that you offer other items besides books in your Little Free Library. So tell us a little bit more about what you're sharing and what you're offering to the people in the community.
Yeah, when we built it, because we built it after seeing the interest in both a Little Free Library and a Little Pantry, we decided to follow the sharing box model that Little Free Library has done so successfully. So we have about half of our library is dedicated to books, and the bottom half is dedicated to things like hygiene products and pantry items. So we frequently restock with things like toothbrushes, toothpaste. Deodorant's very popular. We're right by a public park and a playground that's frequented by a lot of teenagers. After having spoken to a couple of them, they're not always comfortable approaching their parents at first when they need things like deodorant. So we've been really excited to meet that need. Something that we're looking at doing in the future, in addition to providing like traditional pantry items like dry goods, like canned beans, canned tomatoes, dry rice, and things like that, we're working towards and are applying for funding to be able to start offering traditional foods as well. So traditional Anishinaabe foods, so things like manomen or wild rice, or maple sugar, things like that that might be hard to reach otherwise, either because it's difficult to reach stores that have them, or because those items also tend to be kind of expensive, both to make sure that our Indigenous neighbors have access to things that they need culturally, and to make sure that our non-Indigenous neighbors have the opportunity to understand and appreciate how exciting and vibrant Anishinaabe food is.
Right. And that there's always continued learning there. So I think that that's also very, very exciting. Let's talk about the community that you serve. What's something that you really think everybody should know about the community you serve, and what is not known or forgotten, or what exciting things do you want to share? What are the challenges that they face that you want everyone to know?
Something I'd like people to know about the community is there's a couple things, actually. It's hard to choose. For one, Lansing, Niquayjong, which is the traditional name for Lansing, Michigan, it means where the rivers meet. We have one of the greatest concentrations of Anishinaabe speakers in the world. So we're really, really blessed and honored to have as many speakers as we do, although it's sometimes difficult to reach and coordinate and make it sure that speakers are meeting with kids. So another thing that can be difficult for beginner speakers in particular is if you don't have those very basic skills, it can be intimidating to approach a fluent speaker to try and work towards fluency. And that's something where Little Free Libraries fit really well into our mission. We're able to provide, in a no judgment way, access to beginner workbooks, to beginner storybooks, to things people can take home and keep and tie themselves to, fill out the workbook and not worry about having to take it back. So the other big thing related to that is that we have a huge urban Indigenous community. There's all kinds of great Indigenous community organizations, such as Nokomis Cultural Center. That's located in Okemos, Michigan, so it's a bit of a drive. So it's, again, having a Little Free Library has helped us bridge a gap in the community by making it so that there is actual Anishinaabe stuff available a little bit closer by, especially for families where it's not necessarily accessible to get to language night every week. Language night is the night where they do a little bit of teaching. So, and the last thing is just how vibrant and diverse the neighborhood is. We're fortunate to be located in the East Side neighborhood, which has historically been and continues to be a predominantly Black, Latino, and Indigenous neighborhood with a lot of queer folks as well. So that's been very exciting for us to see that not only do we have this very vibrant, diverse community, we have community members that are also very interested in engaging with the land and invested in Anishinaabe. Because based on how fast those Anishinaabe books disappear from the Little Free Library, I can tell you it's not just Indigenous folks reading them. And based on conversations with people who are getting into speaking Anishinaabe, it's a lot of people.
That's really wonderful, and being able to share that and that richness of the language and the culture is really great. So tell me about other ways that you spread the word about your Little Free Library with the various communities, with the public. Are there different ways, and also letting people know what is in your Little Free Library as well?
So the main way that we communicate what we've got in the Little Free Library and let people know about it right now is through social media, word of mouth, and foot traffic. Social media, I'm in charge of that currently. I'm hoping to change that because I'm not the best at social media. But we do publish on our Facebook page, as well as send out an email anytime that we've got a really big restock. So we always have workbooks available in there, but occasionally we're able to get funding together to order a bunch of children's books, storybooks that we haven't stocked frequently, larger, longer, more difficult texts for more advanced speakers and learners. But the big thing is foot traffic. Because we're right across the street from a public park, specifically right across the street from a playground, we get a lot of curious kids coming over because what's this big yellow box sitting in the middle of the street? So, yeah.
That's really true. Well, and I encourage with each of our speakers today, look for them. I think Shelby's continues to put on some great links, but look for them on Facebook and, whether you have Instagram and also, follow them as much as you can. Thank you so much, Grant. I'm very, very excited to learn more and see more. And we so appreciate what you're doing. One little thing for you, there's a great publisher called Readers to Eaters. So much of what you're doing is they'll be very happy to hear, and we'll share all the information about what you're doing with them as well. So thank you. And we'll if we have any more questions, we'll certainly have them in the chat and then other follow-ups as well. So thank you. My best to you.
Too much.
So our next presenter thank you very much, is Amanda Randall. We're very, very happy to have Amanda here. She's a case manager at Transitions, and Transitions is an organization in Spokane, Washington, providing housing for individuals and families transitioning out of homelessness. In February 2021, Amanda was granted a Little Free Library through our Impact Library program. The library now provides books in Transitions Yard Cottages, the Yard Cottage community, which houses 33 adults and 32 children. And we're so, so excited to have you aboard. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let's start with you telling us a little bit more about yourself and your role and your Little Free Library.
Sure. So I'm a case manager, basically just provide support services for the families that live on site. It's 24 individual cottages, and it's permanent supportive housing for folks who are either chronically homeless or disabled or both. And it is basically anything to everything. We like to use the phrase meet them where they're at, because everybody's journey starts differently and their goals are all different. So it can range from somebody wanting to get their GED to somebody trying to get their kids back through social services. And sometimes folks are just disabled and just need a little extra help. It just really ranges. So our library is also right next to our community garden. We have 26 garden beds, and that was very intentional on my part. The garden beds were there first, and I had this vision. I wanted the library to be in the center of our community. On site, also part of our organization, we have a huge brick building. It used to be an old orphanage, but it is now 16 apartments for transitional housing. And the old infirmary for the orphanage is now an on-site childcare, and it's reduced priced for all the participants that are part of Transitions. Just gives those families a little extra help because daycare is very expensive.
Very expensive. It's and thank you for all you do. I used to be in the Washington, D.C. area on the board of the Reading Connection, which was very, very similar to the work that you do. And, parents and adults, it is an opportunity to, amplify, elevate, and assist. And so we so appreciate the work that you're doing. What prompted you to apply to the Little Free Library Impact Library Program?
Yeah, I was very happily surprised when I was looking to purchase one. Just with our funds, we get grants and all that. So we do have a little bit of a budget, and I was just going through the website and I stumbled upon it, and I thought this is just such a great opportunity. I feel like we really fit the criteria. All of our, not just our organization, but our West Central neighborhood is where we are located, is considered 30% or below of the AMI. So all the schools are low income. Our two closest libraries through the last year have been closed for construction, and only one has opened back up. So it just felt like a really good opportunity to not only bring our community together, our Transitions community, but just the whole neighborhood. We are smack in the middle of a residential neighborhood. So building a low-income housing project, we did have a lot of, NIMBYism, but really, they have really just been great. We've really ingratiated ourselves and are this was part of it. We wanted to just expand our not only giving, but just the sharing of the neighborhood and the sharing of the books. And there are a few others in the neighborhood, and I just felt like it was part of our responsibility as somebody who represents these families and this community, this low-income community, to show that we are here and we have so much more to offer. And it's not how do I put this? Sorry. Gives me a lot of pride.
And it creates a stronger connection to the local community. They have a way an avenue toward perhaps helping to support and invest and realize that nothing is a threat, that it's actually, a vibrant part of your community, that you have people of all kinds and all challenges and all experiences there.
Absolutely.
Tell me how the Little Free Library Little Free Libraries have added to the experience of the families and adults at the home Yard Cottages. What have they done and how they helped with their experiences there?
It's been great. So when I received the library, I also received a box of books, but we had so many residents bring boxes of books and they were so excited. And our childcare, which is just up the hill from us, so there's 3 properties all on our site, and the library is right in the middle, right with the garden. So over the summer, it was so amazing. The garden was full and it was vibrant, and the children were coming down and taking their walks and taking books from the library and putting books back in, and it just felt like such a big piece of community coming together. And our mission statements, we have justice, growth and wholeness, respect for human dignity, and community. So community is a huge part of what we do, and really letting these folks know that you are a part of community, you are a part of our community, you are a part of this outside community. And I think it's just wonderful.
Yeah, that's great, which is uplifting for anybody who faces additional challenges, particularly when it comes to housing, that is, something that is, they are part of the vibrancy of a neighborhood and a community. So I really, really love it. What is something about that you think people need to know about the community you serve? I mean, you're touching on it, but I'd love to hear more about those, the families, the adults, everybody you serve, who is part of your community.
Sure. The organization in whole has several sites, but mine in particular serves these families, and I have learned so much from them, so many life lessons and such perseverance. I mean, I have had some individuals go through just the most challenging, earth-shattering experiences, and while living in a van for 10 years, and just being able to provide them a home, it's human dignity. It really is. And then that gives them the opportunity to say, okay, what's next? What else can I do? And that is the most rewarding thing for me to watch, is to watch somebody come into that realization and realize their potential.
Yeah, I love that, because they begin to think of possibilities, not barriers.
Yes.
And you have opened up a lot of really wonderful doors. Tell me how you spread the word about your Little Free Library to the community you serve, and then also the outside community.
So we do also have social media. I do not run that, but I do let our development director know so that she can put it out to, they do like a newsletter for the board and all that. So pretty much the whole community, anybody who invests in transitions will know about it. I also do a newsletter for our 24 residents, and I post it on everybody's door, and it's in the laundry room, and I send it up to the other sites so all the other sites know what we're up to. So, and every month, the last few months, actually, I've started doing book recommendations on the books that are in there. So just trying to get people engaged and all that. And every time somebody comes in or walks by the garden, I ask, oh, have you read anything lately? Or I try to check if there's anything new. It's very, very person to person.
I love that, because then it's the opportunity for the wider community, the public and the audience, to say this community, has these great book recommendations. So this is, again, a way to, amplify. And I think what you were saying about dignity is also really, really critical. Are you able to raise funds for books and call upon organizations? How is Transitions helped by the outer community, or whether it's nonprofits or local government or so on, or individuals?
Yeah, we are constantly getting donations from the outside community, and honestly, we haven't even had to use them. Our little community has kept it so filled and supplied, and if they take, they give. So it's really never, I think there's only been once where it's been completely empty, and we were able to supplement that with the books that were in our community room just waiting to be put in there. So it has just been thriving.
Oh, great. There's a question in the chat from one of our listeners. I don't want to butcher your name, so I'll just, do you have any curriculum that teaches the community residents how to grow their garden, how to use the garden, or the food in the garden?
Yeah, actually, this is really great. We are affiliated with the Washington State University Master Gardeners. So they send a few folks out who specifically focus on underserved gardens. So like low income, so they provide seeds. Because of COVID, we haven't done classes, but they do offer classes. We've done some like outside garden parties and stuff like that. So we have been able to maintain not as much education as I would like just because of COVID, but we'll hopefully get back to that.
Great. So thank you, Amanda. I think what I'll do is I'll talk about one of our panelists was ill, and then we'll go back and we have questions. All three of you will chat with me, and we'll add some other questions that perhaps some of the folks on the chat may have for the rest of you. So thank you. This sounds really, really wonderful. And if I'm in the area, I'm moving to Washington State, so I'll have to head out there. So thank you. So I wanted to let you know that we had another fourth guest. She unfortunately was not feeling well, so she can't join us. But I would like to share a bit about Scarlett Salamone. In her absence, we're hopeful that in a future Little Free Library Unbound we'll be able to feature her as well. She owns and operates Loveland Acres Farm in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. And in addition to raising animals, she runs programs like Chickens and Littles, which educates kids on farm animals and agriculture. This is so much fun. And in September 2020, Loveland Acres added a Little Free Library to the mix. Kids and their families can now not only take home eggs and milks and soaps, but they also can take books from their visits to the farm. So when you go to the Loveland Acres website, Shelby is sharing it in the chat, you'll be able to hear and see more about it. I love the little goat. I love the little books. There are so many great ways that you can connect kids and books, as you can see, with gardens. We don't have any other questions, but I do actually have one question for everybody, for each of you, and then we'll get on to our amplifying the sites there. But the one quick question is what are your hopes for 2022 with your Little Free Libraries? I'm going to go first, Cindy, then Grant, and then Amanda. What would you like to see for 2022 for your Little Free Library? Cindy?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just getting myself
That's okay.
unmuted. For 2022, I actually, with the Little Free Library, I want to expand and have regular programming monthly centered around exchanging books, exchanging stories, and we have begun to work on that curriculum. And that would be both with the authors that we feature within the Little Free Library, but stories within the community and also told by the community. So highlighting kids, parents, et cetera, doing part of that. So I think that's a really important piece, is to continue to deepen what is happening around the Little Free Libraries. Again, it's the on-ramp to so much more.
Yes, so agree. Grant, how about you for 2022?
Our hopes are actually pretty similar. We're hoping to integrate more of the workbooks into our curriculum. We haven't been able to have workshops, unfortunately, again, due to COVID. But before all of this stuff happened, we were able to offer some workshops and start teaching from workbooks and integrating that into what we were sharing, and frame it more as, you've done the first one, and next week we're going to put out the next one and the next one. So making it a clearer on-ramp for people that are entirely new to the language, who haven't even ever made a very nasal sound with their nose before, to say Anishinaabe. So that's one big thing. And the other big thing that we're looking to do is start working to share more traditional Anishinaabe foods. Both of those things are actually very exciting and possible right now. We just launched a Patreon. It's a patron platform where we share updates. And we've been excited and very surprised to see how many people have supported us. And that's made us able to buy a lot more books. They used to come out of my paycheck. I'm a graduate student, so you can guess how that works out.
Yeah.
But now they come from community members, and we get donations and things like that. So just offering more. We're also planning to scale up how much we're advertising the Little Free Library, as we're sure that we can keep offering Anishinaabe content and books. One of the promises we made is that we would always have something in Anishinaabe in the Little Free Library. And that's been increasingly difficult to meet that promise, but that's actually very exciting at the same time.
Yeah. Amanda, how about you? And then I'll offer up how we can help each of these organizations.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the same. Part of our work that we're doing currently is a lot of work with equity and our families of color, just helping recognize and uplift that all the culture. And we are on Indigenous land. So right above our property is beautifully naturally preserved. It's called Drumheller Springs. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it. It's really incredible. So part of something I've been wanting to do for a while is just educate the people that live on this land, what they're living on, and all of that. So really just spread the awareness, and not just the books that are in there, but kind of expand. I know that we got a lot of books. We got some books sent to us about some children's books of kids of color and stuff like that, and that was a huge success for us. I think that a lot of our families felt seen and heard in a way that they haven't before, and I really want to keep going with that in that direction.
That's great. Well, tis the season to be reading, but tis the season also to be giving. And what we are asking to do, both for our viewers and those who will access this afterwards on our YouTube channel and Facebook and otherwise, we really want everyone to be able to make donations to each of these 4 incredible organizations. You've heard what they are trying to accomplish. You've heard the challenges they face and the continued perseverance in the work that they do, supporting the work that they do in the community supports not only their individual organizations, but the books are able to provide to the people they serve. You can find links to each of the organizations that we talked about in the chat and also in the show notes that will be emailed to you tomorrow and available on the Little Free Library Unbound page. And I just have to, tip my hat to each of you and thank you for all that you do. As somebody who didn't see myself in books, all of what you do, all of the stories that you share means so much. And as somebody whose parents, also struggle economically, when you are helping those who don't have the resources available, it is a gift, and it is so much a part of, I think, the Little Free Library mission. We are so grateful to each of you, and we hope to see you in various ways, Instagram, Facebook, Little Free Library Unbound in the future. We celebrate each and every one of you, and we wish you a prosperous 2022. We hope that your dreams come true for 2022, and we'll be a part of making that happen. So thank you so, so much. I'm going to turn it over to Lexi and Shelby, and I wish you, everybody who's been on here, also a very blessed new year, and peace and joy, and a lot of love.
Thank you, Anita. And thank you to all of our guests. This was, as always, such a lovely episode of Unbound, and such a warm and exciting way to wrap up a year. This has been a brand new offering from Little Free Library Unbound has, and it has been such a unique way to connect with stewards, patrons, people who support Little Free Libraries and use them, people who are just learning about Little Free Libraries and thinking, hey, I might be able to use this in a cool way. It's really been an honor to hear all of your stories and share advice and everything we've been able to do here with Unbound this last year. So we are so excited to be back next year. But yeah, I'll keep from babbling on. As always, attendees will receive an email in the next couple of days with the show notes and the recording, so you can share the recording of this with your networks, anyone who might be interested in checking it out. And you will have a link to sign up for a chance to win one of 10 copies of Get Together. I've got my copy here. I'm just about done with it. This is a great book on how to build a community with the people around you and people who share interests with you. So much of what our guests today have been doing, identifying a need or a shared interest and getting people together in a way that's really successful to meet those needs and really enjoy time together and build a community. So make sure you sign up to win one of those copies. If you haven't already, we encourage you to follow Little Free Library on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter to stay in the know about future chapters of Unbound and other exciting Little Free Library news. From all of us at Little Free Library, thank you for your support this year. Thank you for tuning into Unbound and your support for all of our programs. We wish you a safe and warm holiday season with some great books, delicious food, and lots of happy memories and laughter with your loved ones. Take good care, and we will see you next year.